My name is Linda Karishma. I'm 38 years old. For a long time, I thought this story would be about patience, about how if you loved hard enough and waited long enough, people would eventually meet you halfway. I was wrong. This is the story of the moment I realized that in my own home, I was never seen as a parent at all, only as a convenience. When Daniel and I got married 2.5 years ago, we didn't just blend our lives. We blended our children, our histories, and our unresolved baggage into one 4-bedroom house on a quiet street in suburban Phoenix. I came into the marriage with my 2 children, Maya, 9, and Ethan, 7. They're mine in the way that rewires your nervous system forever. Every decision I make passes through the question, will this protect them? Daniel brought his children from his previous marriage, Ryan, 15, and Lily, 13. Their biological mother lived 15 minutes away in Scottsdale and had them every other weekend. She was present, vocal, and very clear about one thing. Daniel was their parent. I was not. From the beginning, I tried to be the kind of stepmother I had once wished for myself. Not overbearing, not distant, just steady. I included Ryan and Lily in everything. Grocery runs, family movie nights, weekend trips to Sedona. I asked their opinions on house rules, on where to eat, on what color we should paint the guest room. I paid for school supplies at Desert Ridge Academy, covered sports fees, drove them to practices the same way I did for Maya and Ethan. I told myself that consistency mattered, that kids needed time. What I didn't realize was that they weren't confused. They were deciding. The first crack showed itself about 4 months after we moved in. We'd just come back from Costco, the trunk of my SUV packed tight with groceries. I asked Ryan to help carry a few bags inside. Nothing heavy, nothing unreasonable. He looked at me, really looked at me, and said, flat and calm, "You're not my mom. I don't have to listen to you." Daniel heard it from the kitchen. He told Ryan to help anyway, and Ryan did, but with a stiffness that made it clear he was obeying his father, not respecting me. I told myself it was growing pains. It wasn't. Over time, Ryan and Lily perfected a skill I didn't even know how to name: selective obedience. If Daniel asked them to do something, they moved. If I asked the exact same thing, I was met with silence, or worse. I'll wait for Dad to tell me. It was subtle enough to deny, clear enough to feel. At dinner, Ryan would ask Daniel if it was okay to eat what I'd cooked. Lily would leave her messes scattered across the kitchen and say, "Dad didn't say I had to clean it." And every time, something inside me tightened just a little more. The real shift happened when it started affecting my kids. One evening, Maya came to me in tears because Ryan had taken her art supplies, the expensive markers we'd picked out together. When she asked for them back, he told her, "Your mom doesn't make the rules here. Only real parents do." Real parents. Ethan started asking me why Ryan and Lily didn't have to listen to me like he did. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that respect in your house depends on DNA? I talked to Daniel. Over and over, he spoke to his kids, they apologized. Things improved, for days, then slipped right back. "They're adjusting," Daniel said. "They're learning what they can get away with," I thought. By the time March rolled around, I was exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. I dreaded coming home. The house felt heavy, quiet, like everyone was holding their breath. And then came the night that finally broke something open. It was a Wednesday. I came home late and found Ethan crying in his room, clutching the broken pieces of a toy helicopter we'd built together. Ryan had thrown it down the stairs. When Ethan protested, Ryan told him, "Tell your mom to buy you another one. That's all she's good for." I found Ryan in the bonus room, gaming like nothing had happened. I asked him to explain. He didn't pause the game. "You're not my mom," he said. "I don't owe you anything." Something inside me went very still. "Okay," I said quietly. "I hear you." I walked away, already knowing that whatever came next would change everything. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay in bed beside Daniel, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun slow, useless circles above us, replaying Ryan's words over and over again. That's all she's good for. Money, convenience, background support. Not authority, not respect, not family. In the morning, I moved through the house on autopilot, packed lunches, signed permission slips, reminded Ethan to tie his shoes. Maya asked if she could stay home from school. She said her stomach hurt, but I knew better. The house no longer felt safe to her, not emotionally. Daniel noticed the quiet, but didn't press. He kissed my cheek before leaving for work, like affection alone could smooth over what had fractured. Ryan and Lily barely looked at me as they left. That week became a masterclass in invisibility. If Daniel asked Ryan to take out the trash, it was done within minutes. If I asked, I was met with a shrug or a vacant stare. Lily perfected the art of pretending not to hear me at all. She'd scroll on her phone, earbuds in, eyes glazed, until Daniel walked into the room and repeated my exact words. Then she'd move. Every time it happened, it sent the same message. Your voice doesn't count. And the worst part? They were confident about it. I grilled burgers on Saturday night, standing alone by the backyard grill while the kids laughed inside. When I called everyone out to eat, Ryan walked straight past me and asked his father, "Is it okay if I eat now?" Daniel hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but I saw it. That hesitation was everything. Lily started leaving her Starbucks cups on the kitchen counter, rings of melted ice soaking into the granite. When I asked her to throw them away, she tilted her head and said, "Dad didn't say I had to." It wasn't defiance anymore. It was performance. They wanted me to react, to snap, to prove I was exactly what they believed I was, an outsider overstepping her place. So I didn't. I smiled. I stayed calm. I kept showing up. And they learned something dangerous. They learned there were no consequences. By the end of the second week, Ethan stopped asking me for help with his homework unless Daniel was home. Maya stopped bringing her sketchbook into the living room. They retreated into their bedrooms like guests trying not to disturb the host. One night, as I tucked Maya into bed, she whispered, "Mom, are we allowed to tell Ryan no?" The question hit me harder than any insult. "Yes," I said immediately, forcing certainty into my voice. "You're always allowed to say no." She nodded, but her eyes didn't believe me. That was the night I finally understood that my silence wasn't protecting anyone. It was teaching my children that disrespect was something they had to endure. I brought it up to Daniel again, sat him down at the kitchen table after the kids were asleep. "This isn't just about me anymore," I said. "It's affecting Maya and Ethan." Daniel rubbed his temples. He looked tired, defensive, torn in the way parents get when loyalty feels like a zero-sum game. "They're kids," he said. "Ryan's 15. He's angry. Lily's following his lead. Their mom fills their heads with stuff about loyalty. So we just wait?" I asked, "until they grow out of it?" Daniel sighed. "Just give it more time." Time. Time wasn't fixing anything. Time was teaching them exactly how far they could go. The tension in the house thickened until it felt like walking through smoke. Dinner conversations became clipped and transactional. Family movie nights felt staged. Even passing the remote turned into a silent power struggle. Ryan would hand it to Daniel even if I was closer, even if I'd asked. I started staying late at work, sitting in my car after parking in the driveway, scrolling through my phone just to delay going inside. This house used to feel like a sanctuary. Now it felt like a place I had to earn entry into every single day. I tried adjusting my approach, tried warmth, tried distance. I offered to take Ryan to one of his basketball games, thinking one-on-one time might help. He agreed but spent the entire game texting, responding to my attempts at conversation with one-word answers that might as well have been grunts. I helped Lily with algebra, patiently re-explaining the same concepts night after night. She accepted my help without protest, but never once said thank you. Never acknowledged that I was choosing to sit there instead of doing 100 other things. It felt like pouring water into a cracked cup. No matter how much I gave, nothing stayed. The breaking point didn't come with shouting or slammed doors. It came quietly, on a Wednesday night in March. I'd had a brutal day at work. Deadlines stacked on deadlines, meetings that went nowhere. All I wanted was to come home and feel like I belonged somewhere. Instead, I found Ethan sitting on his bed, shoulders shaking, clutching the shattered remains of that helicopter kit we'd built together last Christmas, the one that had taken hours, the one he'd been so proud of. Between sobs, he told me what happened. Ryan had wanted to borrow his Nintendo Switch. Ethan said no. Ryan took the helicopter and threw it down the stairs. When Ethan cried, Ryan said, "Tell your mom to buy you a new one. That's all she's good for anyway." The words burned. Not because they were cruel, but because they were confident. Ryan believed them. I walked to the bonus room and found him sprawled on the couch, headset on, gunfire echoing from the TV. "Ryan," I said evenly, "we need to talk." He didn't pause the game. "You broke Ethan's helicopter," I continued, "the one we built together." He shrugged. "Accidents happen." "Frank says you threw it." Ryan finally looked at me then. His expression wasn't angry. It was dismissive. "You're not my mom," he said. "I don't have to explain anything to you." Something inside me shifted. Not rage. Clarity. I realized in that moment that every conversation, every compromise, every ounce of patience had led us right here. To a child who felt so secure in his power that he could reduce me to nothing more than a wallet with legs. And instead of yelling, instead of begging, I nodded. Okay, I said softly, I hear you. I walked away, leaving him mid-game, my heart pounding with a calm that felt almost frightening. I went straight to my home office, closed the door. And for the first time since we'd become a blended family, I stopped asking myself how to make them accept me. I started asking myself a different question. What does it cost me to keep letting this happen? That was the night I opened my laptop and began making a list. The list started innocently enough. At first, I told myself I was just organizing my thoughts, writing things down so I wouldn't explode later. But as the cursor blinked at the top of the screen, something steadier took over. I titled the document simply, In My Name. Then I began. The mortgage on the house, utilities, electricity, water, gas, internet and cable, streaming services, the family cell phone plan, car insurance, the gaming console in the bonus room, the smart home security system. Line by line, the reality of my position became impossible to ignore. I wasn't their mother, but I was their provider. And that imbalance, that contradiction, was the root of everything that had gone wrong. I sat there for a long time after finishing the list, listening to the muted sounds of gunfire from the bonus room, the low hum of the air conditioner cycling on and off. The house felt detached from me, like I was already standing outside it, looking in. When I finally went to bed, Daniel was asleep. I didn't wake him. I wasn't ready for the conversation yet, not until my thoughts had hardened into something unmovable. Morning came too fast. Daniel left early for work. The kids moved through their routines like parallel lines that never touched. Ryan didn't acknowledge me at all. Lily asked her father for lunch money while I stood 3 feet away, holding my purse. I didn't correct her, not because I was giving up, but because I had already decided something else. By noon, my hands were steady. That surprised me. I expected guilt, anger, doubt. What I felt instead was resolve. I started with the phone company. The customer service representative sounded cheerful, bored, like she was reading from muscle memory. Yes, I'd like to remove 2 lines from my family plan, I said. She asked for names. I gave them. She warned me about early termination fees. I understand, I said. Please proceed. When she confirmed the disconnection was immediate, I thanked her and hung up. Next came the internet provider, then the cable service. Passwords were changed, streaming accounts logged out, Wi-Fi access revoked. I didn't rush, I didn't panic. I moved through the tasks with the precision of someone who had finally accepted the truth. Around 10 that night, Daniel found me in the office. What are you doing up so late? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. I turned the laptop toward him. I'm making sure Ryan doesn't have to accept anything from someone he doesn't recognize as a parent, I said calmly. His brow furrowed. What does that mean? It means his phone is disconnected. The internet goes off tomorrow, and I'm packing his and Lily's things this weekend. The color drained from his face. Linda, he said carefully, you can't be serious. I met his eyes, held them. Your son told me last night that I'm not his parent, that I don't have authority in my own home. I believe him. This is extreme, Daniel said. They're kids. Maya and Ethan are kids, I replied. Ryan is 15, old enough to know exactly what he was saying. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time, I saw uncertainty replace his defensiveness. You're kicking them out? He asked. No, I said. I'm removing myself from a role they've rejected. Silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. I need their mother's address, I continued. I'll be dropping off their belongings. Daniel stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. The next morning, while he took the kids to school, I began packing. Clothes, shoes, electronics, school supplies. Everything that belonged to Ryan and Lily went into boxes and bags. Their rooms emptied quickly, the walls suddenly bare, impersonal. By the time I was done, the house felt lighter. A locksmith arrived just after noon. Front door, back door, garage entry. New keys, no extras. When the internet technician came to disconnect service, I let him in myself. I watched him work without flinching. At 3:17 p.m., my phone rang. Daniel, we can't get in, he said, panic leaking through his voice. The keys don't work. I changed the locks, I replied evenly. Ryan and Lily's things are packed. There was a long pause. You can't do this, he said finally. I already did, I said. Their mother can pick them up, or you can take them to her, but they're not coming back into this house until something changes. You're choosing this hill? He asked quietly. I'm choosing my children, I answered, and myself. When I pulled into the driveway 20 minutes later, Ryan and Lily were sitting on the front steps, confused and pale. Their mother's car was parked at the curb. Ryan looked up when he saw me. "You're really serious," he said, disbelief cracking his voice. I stepped out of the car and faced him. "You told me I wasn't your parent," I said gently. "You were right. And parents provide for their children. I'm respecting the boundary you set." Lily started crying. "Where are we supposed to go?" she asked. I softened just a fraction. "To your mom's," I said. "She's your parent." Ryan swallowed. What if we want to come back?" I looked at him steadily. "Then you'll need to decide if you can treat me with the same respect you give your parents." They left that night, and as their car disappeared down the street, the house fell into a silence that felt both empty and strangely peaceful. For the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. The silence after they left was different from any silence I'd known before. It wasn't tense, it wasn't heavy. It was clean. I stood in the living room long after the car disappeared down the street, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. No slammed doors, no sarcastic comments, no sideways glances that made my shoulders tighten. Daniel didn't speak for a long time. When he finally did, his voice sounded unfamiliar, smaller, stripped of certainty. "You didn't have to do it like this." I turned to him slowly. I wasn't angry anymore. That phase had passed. "Yes," I said, "I did." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "You humiliated them. You humiliated me." I let that settle. Then I said quietly, "They humiliated Maya. They humiliated Ethan. And they humiliated me every single day in this house while you asked me to be patient." That stopped him. He sank into a chair, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like it might offer answers. For the first time since we'd married, Daniel looked genuinely lost. That night, Maya and Ethan stayed in the living room with me. We ordered takeout. They laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. Ethan sprawled on the carpet with his Legos, unconcerned. Maya brought out her sketchbook again and drew at the kitchen counter, completely unguarded. Watching them felt like confirmation. Not justification. Confirmation. Daniel slept on the couch. The next few days were brutal. Ryan and Lily's mother called twice. Her voice was sharp, controlled, the kind of anger polished by years of courtroom confidence. "You had no right," she said. "They're children." "And I'm not their parent," I replied evenly. That was made very clear to me. Daniel and I argued behind closed doors, late into the night, about loyalty, about marriage, about whether love meant enduring disrespect indefinitely. "You made me choose," he said one night. "No," I answered. "I made you see the choice you were already making." At work, I functioned like a machine. At home, something strange happened. The air lifted. Maya started sleeping through the night again. Ethan stopped flinching when footsteps sounded in the hallway. They didn't ask if they were allowed to exist in shared spaces anymore. The house became ours again. 10 days passed. Then Daniel's phone rang. He answered quietly and listened without interrupting, his expression slowly changing from defensive to contemplative. When he hung up, he looked at me with eyes that held something new. "Ryan wants to come back," he said. "Both of them do." I didn't respond immediately. "They've been asking," he continued, "every day. He says he didn't realize how much you did. Lily's been crying for you." For me. That detail landed softly but firmly in my chest. I set conditions. Not demands, not punishments. Conditions. When Ryan and Lily returned that weekend, they stood in the entryway with their bags, hesitant, unsure of their footing. I didn't invite them in right away. We sat at the kitchen table. "I'm not asking you to call me Mom," I said. "I'm not asking you to love me. I am asking you to treat me with the same respect you give any adult who takes care of you." Ryan nodded first. He looked different, quieter. "I was wrong," he said, "about everything." Lily whispered an apology so small it almost disappeared between us. I unlocked the door. Things weren't magically perfect after that. But they were different, and different was enough.